Alright, so I made this the other day, and I did not think it was going to be very good, so I did not bother recording it. Turns out it's actually really nice, and so I thought I would make it again, and I'll record it this time. I kind of just chucked a load of stuff into a pan. So I didn't know what was going to happen. We'll get these lentils just soaking to speed them along a wee bit. So I have some pork belly slices. I'll talk about them in a second. And a load of vegetables. Again, just the usual array of vegetables and herbs. Put in a few tomatoes, I think. That's it. So, got these pork belly slices, and now Jamie Oliver would be actually, I tell you what, I'll get some spices out first before I get my hands. So no, you can't see anything here, it's pitch black. Turmeric and some mixed spice. I'll just open these up. We'll talk about this in a second, just before my fingers get all covered in pork. Before covered in raw meat. I'll talk about them in a minute. So, Jamie Oliver, if he was cooking pork belly, would be interested in the top layer of skin and getting it crunchy and making it like pork crackling. He talks about that a lot. Anytime I've tried to cook that, it's not really been any good. It's been so hard, it's like chewing on glass. It's rock hard. It's no good. The only crispy pork belly skin that's any good is the Chinese. They're the kind of the masters of it, and they do, I don't know if they boil it or if they put some kind of vinegar on it first. I'll sort that out in another time. But what Tesco are doing is they're actually cutting that top layer of skin off. And so we don't even have that on here. So Jamie Oliver will be saying, what is the point of this? You're not going to get any crispiness on this anyway. Or maybe that wee thin layer on the top might go crispy, but maybe that would be quite good. Maybe that would crisp up and it wouldn't be rock hard, I don't know. Anyway, this is going to get stewed. Anyway, so we're not going for crispiness, this is going to be in a stew. It is 25 degrees centigrade outside, and it's July, and it's roasting hot. That's some ice water I've got there, because it's so flipping warm. So this is the ideal dinner for this weather, a nice warm stew for this roasting hot weather. I never really tailor my food to the seasons. I fancy this. If I fancy a salad in winter time, I'll have it. It's the benefit of living in the city with food coming in from all over the world, is I can have anything I want any time of the year, pretty much. So anyway, what am I talking about? So the pork belly, so because this tends to take a long time to cook as well, I'm going to chop it into these small pieces. And when I did it the other day, it only took about 40 minutes or so to cook this. But we'll get these frying straight away. Now, what I was thinking of as well was starting the frying process of these and then using the fats that are rendered out to fry the vegetables. And but there wasn't much fat that came out. This one seems to have a wee bit more fat, maybe there's a wee thicker layer of fat in there, so it might be a wee bit more fat will come out this one. But once we put these powders onto it, it doesn't seem to become too fatty. And when I finished the stew and I put it in a container in the fridge, the next day when I took it out, it wasn't there was no layer of fat on top. So this is not an overly fatty dish. Because they've taken that top layer off, I think that really helps. So it's good that they're doing that. So that's done. Ideally, you'd want to marinate this overnight. But I'm not going to do that. It would improve the flavour a bit. So I'm going to put a wee touch of oil onto it. A wee bit of vegetable oil just to start the process. Start the frying process. So I've got some mixed herbs. Just kind of that general kind of herb mix. Get curry powder. And again, you put anything you want onto this. I've got some hot chili powder. It's very, very hot, this stuff, but it does mellow in the stewing cooking process. Turmeric, just because you always want to add turmeric into something like this because it's a superfood. It's good for you. And I did put coriander in it last time. This is cumin. A wee bit of that. So that's your spices. So just give them a mix up. Should really use a spoon to do this. I'll just use my fingers because now it looks like I've been smoking 50 fags a day for my whole life. The turmeric staining your fingers, you know. Your fingers are the best way to get that mushed in. So, and because we're not going to be leaving this to marinate for any length of time, you can put a bit of salt into it as well. If you're marinating it, you wouldn't put the salt in it. If you're leaving it overnight, you wouldn't bother with the salt. I'm not going to put too much salt into it because I'm going to use some stock later on. So we shall get that, stick the heat on and get that started. My hot water is working now, so I have hot water, which is good. And as usual, cleaning up as we go along, so you don't have a whole load of cleaning to do at the end. Yeah, I was really pleased with this, pleased with how the pork did not take forever and a day to cook. It was nice and tender. Pleased with the flavours, it was really good. All just from chucking a load of stuff into a pan. So kind of any vegetables you like, but I'm just going to use these. And because the pork belly will take some cooking, you know, you can cook this for a good while, and the pork belly won't overcook or anything. The longer you cook it, the better, if anything. You could be putting root vegetables into this, so you could be putting your carrots, swede, potatoes, that kind of thing into it as well, and that would all work. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to fry that for a while. I'm going to put 2 onions into it. It's quite a big one actually, maybe a wee bit too much onion, but I'm going to go for the soft vegetables, courgette, peppers, mushrooms. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that fry for a good while first of all, and then put the vegetables in kind of last, so they don't stew down to nothing and disappear. Just this one onion would be okay, but that was in the fridge. That's been in the fridge for a wee while, that small one, so I want to use it. These are brand new. But it's all quite flexible. You can see that straight away. When you put this onto 4 of 6, there's not much fat coming out of that. It's a bit early days, but frying hot chili powder, it's always a good idea. Have to be too precise at all. I'm going to turn that down a wee bit again, because the powders tend to catch a wee bit. Small pepper. But this is one of the type of dishes that you can pop it in the fridge. Get it in the fridge kind of, as soon as possible, and it just gets better and better with each day. Any old shape, it doesn't matter. Trying to fly in my fridge. How did that happen? Okay. Soaking wet. Just going to take these and just give them all a rinse. They're soaking wet out of the packet, so give them a rinse. So you want to be keeping an eye on this, making sure it doesn't catch. It's down at 3, so again, no rush with this at all. You can really let this fry. For a good while. I'm not going to use that packet again. And aubergine, never really use aubergines very often, but we'll give it a try. 50 pence for that. It's a wee bit small, but 50 pence, you know what I mean, you can't complain. This is the thing, people will be saying that they can't afford to eat healthy, but you walk into the supermarkets and they're just throwing fruit and veg at you for no money at all. And that's what I kind of want to show in these videos, that you can just throw things like this, 50 pence worth of aubergine, roughly chop it up, throw it into a pot with some stuff, and create yourself quite a nice bit of dinner. We'll use the whole lot of it, so that's millions of vegetables. kind of want to fry the onions a wee bit first of all before them, so crank this up a wee bit. The fats are coming out of this pot now. Looks really good already. So we'll leave there, and yeah, I'll chuck the onions in now. The onions will take a bit more cooking. Get these out of the way. Those aubergines don't go black. Loads of garlic. Going to cook for a wee while, probably 40 minutes or so, so you know, it can take a lot of garlic. It's kind of almost like a curry in a way, your garlic, ginger. I'm going to put some ginger in it, curry powder, that kind of thing, onions. I know I would normally put garlic in near the end of things, but I'll put this in near the beginning. As per usual, wiping my hands on the steel to get the garlic smell off my fingers. Bring in some ginger. But yeah, it's very flexible with what you can add to it. It's kind of one of these throw in everything from the bottom of your fridge recipes. You're putting frozen vegetables into that as well. Maybe I'll put some of my frozen spinach into it actually as well, if I remember. Just peel that quite aggressively. And a few tomatoes. Add a nice wee bit of colour at the end. So much plastic. actually catching a wee bit there, so I'll add a wee bit of water just to stop it. It's a wee bit dark there. Turn that up a wee bit too high there. But if it does catch a wee bit like that, you see it's not burnt, but it's just starting to catch. Chuck a wee bit of water into it and it slows everything down. I haven't even turned the temperature down. It was a wee bit high. There's a few wee specks of dark bits in there now which we're not really happy about. Just caught that in time there. So let that go for a wee bit longer. I'll clean these lentils, so just let the lentils soak for a wee bit. These are just your orange split lentils, your normal basic kind of lentils. So I'll talk about this more when I do a lentil soup, but basically these lentils don't really break down properly in hard water, I've discovered. So I'm in London and I'll make a lentil soup and you just end up with kind of almost like that, kind of lentils that are still whole and in liquid stock, whereas it doesn't, so it's rubbish. Whereas I'm chatting on the phone to my aunt and my cousin in Scotland, comparing lentil soup recipes, and we're making it exactly the same way. And when you make it in Scotland, it's nice and thick and rich and creamy, and the lentils are broken right down, and you don't see the circles of the lentils. It's just a thick, creamy soup. And I went to Scotland and I made lentil soup my normal way in Scotland, and it worked perfectly. And I decided that it's the hard water. So when you come to do a lentil soup, you kind of get two options. You buy bottled water if you're in a hard water area, or stick the food processor in it at the end, stick the stick blender in it at the end, and that takes care of it. So these lentils are not going to break down too much. They don't break down as much as I'd like, but they're still alright. That's why I was letting them soak a wee bit, just to help them along. Just do this until the water runs clear. But it works alright. This isn't perfect, but it's alright. Just watch that doesn't catch again. Alright, I think I will stick the rest of these vegetables in. Try and get some of this. See, there's an awful lot of vegetables in there, especially the courgettes and the aubergines, which will soak up the fats that come out of the pork. So that's why this is not an overly fatty dish in the end. I'm going to boil my kettle, so it's going to get a wee bit, forgot about that, I should have done that before I started, because I'm going to use some stock. I need to descale my kettle. I just don't like hard water at all. You can't make lentil soup and you have to descale the kettle. It's a nuisance. Should be done. These don't look very nice, these I'm not very happy with my spinach. This is not very good spinach, this, but I've got to use it up, so it's just your frozen spinach, but it's no, because it's been all shredded down, it doesn't look very good. But it's ideal in something like this, it will just melt through. So for stock I'm going to use, let's see what we've got. do that, yeah, that should be fine. I've got 2 smoked ham stock cubes and 2 chicken stock cubes, so we'll use them. And you really don't want a lump of this stock. You don't want to eat a lump of this stock, so I could just throw these stock cubes straight into the pot, but if they don't dissolve properly and you end up eating a lump of that, it's just solid salt, and it's not very nice at all. So those 2 chicken stock cubes obviously are just normal, you know, you get a nice flavour from it, but the 2 ham ones, you get a nice smoky flavour from it. Put water into it and whisk it. Touch of water into that again, just catching a wee bit. But this catching is developing a lot of good flavour. You can see that along the bottom there, it's good flavour, and that wee touch of water just helps lift it all up. And the more you fry this, the better. The frying really develops the flavour. And you are getting fats coming out of the pork, rendering out and helping to fry the vegetables. So it's really good. Absolutely no lumps. Be sure of that. And this is the kind of dish, you know, you're not really in any hurry at all. The longer it cooks, the better. But not too long with once you put the soft vegetables on, actually saying that. Otherwise they tend to just disappear. Put these lentils in. So now we're kind of starting to do some boiling action. So I'm going to pour this quite slowly. I'm just going to let it settle for a minute and just start pouring it slowly. A wee bit too much actually, but I'm just going to check, make sure there's no lumps. It's important, no lumps at all, so that's good. So we can dump it in and then splash it everywhere, that's good. And that's pretty much it now, so we'll just, I'll maybe put I'll put the tomatoes in just now. So basically when those lentils soften, it's done. We'll dump these tomatoes in as well just now, why not? And then we'll just stick, at the end we'll chop these up and put them in. So I'll do a cutaway here. But once these lentils are cooked, give it half an hour, 40 minutes ish, the meat will be tender, all the flavours will come together. Good flavours from the stock, the lentils give their dimension to the flavour, and the pork belly is robust, it can take good cooking, and you've got a load of vegetables, so you know, it's It's really, really good. Give it a wee taste. Oh my goodness, the chili powder is hot. It tastes really nice already. Obviously it's just going to get better and better. And that the chili powder is quite hot. The chili powder has made it quite hot, but that will cool down. That was the same the last time, so it will. So that's blipping away. So I'm going to turn that down to 1. Turn it down to 1. Lid on, and I will be back in a wee while. I can check the time. Very dark, but it's almost 10:05. I don't actually know what time I can't remember what time I started this, but I think it's about done. You can see what I'm talking about the lentils now. They've not fully broken down. You can kind of see that there's some, so it's thickened it a bit. But some of them are, you can see they haven't fully broken down. They're soft. They're soft. Actually, they're not. That's quite hard, actually. But they just haven't broken down. And the pork, see, is nice and soft. It's just breaking apart. That's very, very nice. So I'll turn that off. Because we've got the curry in it, we'll chuck in a whole load of coriander and a whole load of parsley. And actually those spinach bombs just disappeared. I mean, you just kind of see wee bits of green through it, and that's the spinach. So yeah, they're good. That's the best thing I've used those spinach things in. So in a stew or whatever, I think those wee spinach, frozen spinach pieces work quite nicely. Yes, because we've got the curry flavours in it, the garlic and ginger and stuff, and the curry powder, turmeric and that, the coriander should work quite nicely, this fresh coriander. And it's really nice now, but oops, let this cool down, pop it in the fridge as soon as possible. Reheat it tomorrow, reheat it over the next couple of days, and it's just going to get better and better. And you've got your, so you could not put the lentils in it, you could just skip the lentils and have this with some rice, or mashed potatoes or whatever. But the lentils do give it a bit of body, so I'm not going to bother having any other carbohydrate with it. I'm not too hungry at the moment. If I was a bit hungrier, I could dip some bread into it. I'll get this cooling down. So you want to cook it obviously until the lentils soften, until the pork softens, but not for kind of too. If you were using root vegetables, you could kind of cook it for as long as you wanted. It doesn't really matter. But when you've got the soft vegetables like the peppers and courgettes and things, you don't kind of want to cook it too long, because they tend to just disappear. They tend to break right down. You can see I put a lot of aubergine into that, and you can see it's hard to kind of find. You can see the wee dark bits, but the aubergine's kind of disintegrated right into it. But that's okay. It all adds to the body of the sauce. So I don't know what you'd call this. It's kind of quite liquidy. A sort of a cross between a soup and a stew. Maybe not the most ideal one for the middle of summer, but it's really nice. So that's your pork belly stew done.